right? When something like the vertebrate or the neuron emerges, even if we give full credit to the creative ability of random mutation and environmental pruning, this still doesn't explain where the information is coming from. And to drive home this point, I'm going to read this quote, so don't worry. Holmes Ralston, who is someone who I've really been inspired by in the present book, and he's sort of the father of environmental ethics and really a master philosopher unto himself, has tried to sort of give us an analogy of where the influence of information in the process of evolutionary emergence. And he uses the analogy of shaking a tray of printer's type, right? So you can imagine little steel pieces of type in a tray, all loose. He says if we shake a tray of printer's type, one can get a few short words, which are destroyed as soon as they're composed. If sentences begin to appear, an analogy of the long symbolically coded DNA molecules in the polypeptide chains, and form into a poem or short story, an analogy of the organism, one can be quite sure that there's something formative, even irreversible, constraints on the sorting and shaping that are catching it up for us and directionally organizing them. Something's introducing the order. And further, something seems to be introducing, layer by layer, new possibilities of order, new information achieved, not just unfolding the latent order already there from the start, from the setup. So, there's been a variety of explanations to try to account for the evident emergence of information in this chain of transcendence and inclusion, which forms this larger picture of evolution. Some scientific materialists have just tried to explain it by blind chance mutation. In other words, genes are varied by cosmic rays or genetic drift, but it's just all blind chance, and you know, blind chance in time is where the information comes from. And so that's on one end of the explanatory spectrum. Then moving up from there, along the continuum of you know, more and more metaphysical, then we have the science of self-organization, or autopoiesis, which emerged with system science in the 70s. And it was originally championed by many in the progressive community as a welcome alternative to Darwinian mechanism. But even though the self-organization paradigm, you know, has dynamic systems perched at the edge of chaos, sort of spontaneously assume higher levels of order. Although that is a useful explanation and it's been helpful in many ways, it still doesn't explain where the information comes from. I mean, there's intellectual property that's not accounted for in the course of these emergences. And just sort of saying that it's autopoietic or self-organizing is more like just a mystic chant over a fertile universe. You know, it doesn't really give us an explanation. Moving further along the continuum of where the information comes from is the theory of morphic resonance or morphogenetic influences through some kind of psychic memory or subtle energy field whereby when one form of evolutionary accomplishment is achieved in a novel way by one organism, that makes it easier for other organisms to repeat this process, right? And Rupert Sheldrake and a variety of other scientists have championed this. But because it ultimately relies on subtle energy or psychic memory, it hasn't been connected to the larger body of scientific explanation. And in fact, it's been scorned and ridiculed by the scientific establishment and dismissed as dubious pseudoscience. And then further along the spectrum, we have intelligent design, which posits that the emergence of information exhibits irreducible complexity, that there's something beyond simply, that trying to explain it through random mutation simply doesn't account for the facts. But you know, the dismissal of the theory of morphic resonance pales in comparison to the intense scorn that has been heaped upon theories of intelligent design by the scientific community. And you know, part of that is for, I think, pretty good reason that much of the intelligent design movement is sponsored by an authentic right-wing conspiracy to try to get creationism taught in the schools. So it hasn't, you know, like I said earlier, it's been a boon to materialism. It's only made them more defensive and thus given them greater control of the subject. But regardless of where the information is coming from, or whether we believe that blind chance can explain it or not, there's an even thornier metaphysical problem that's revealed when we begin to look at this new picture of evolution. And that is the influence of value. And values begin to appear in the scheme of evolution with the emergence of agency in biological organisms. Right? I said earlier, you know, life is matter that chooses. This power of choice, no matter how instinctual, no matter how genetically pre-programmed, no matter how apparently automatic, there's something that can't be explained. That is, biological organisms are non-computational. That is, their choices that they're going to make can't be predicted by any known or possible computer, because there's an element of spontaneity. And the prominent systems scientist and complexity theorist Stuart Kauffman has done quite a bit of work analyzing what he calls minimal molecular agents and showing how the idea of purpose corresponds to values. In other words, every choice, no matter how instinctual or primitive, reveals that there's something being valued over something else. If there was nothing to value, there'd be nothing to choose. And if there wasn't striving and trying going on within life, there would be no forward motion for natural selection to act upon. So with the emergence of life comes this, according to Kauffman at least, the emergence of values. Values come into the universe when there is agency there to select and to choose and to be attracted thereby. And so it's clear that there is this striving and trying is a form of values pursuit that then quickens as life evolves. And so not only is the value of surviving and reproducing a value for animals as they evolve, then the value of nurturing offspring, or the value of defending the larger herd, starts to come into the purview of the purpose of animals. And this purpose quickens to the point where there's a significant emergence of purpose in humans. We might